today is an off day, so I'm in a public place. Thought I'd make a video, and I asked you guys earlier via community post if you had any ideas, and Libra responded. So thank you, Libra. Okay, so Melody. I mean, I had Melody buzzard. So I have been kind of scouring and feeling things out with this case. And I don't feel like she's deceased. I think, yeah, mom has mental health issues, but I think the mother is hiding her. I don't get that she's not here. I don't get that she was sold. I think the mother could be like tied into a cult, because when you think the occult references the hidden, right? But I think she is tied into a cult, and I think that this would explain like the need to be discreet and private with the child, pulling her out of school, doing this like, homeschool thing. I think she's tied into a cult, and she took the child someplace to hide her. But I don't feel at all that Melody is dead or that she's being trafficked. But that's just my feeling. And again, I've been peeking at the news. I've been looking at her picture, and I don't feel that she's not here. I think the mom has issues, and the mom may feel like this is the safest place for her to be. You know what I feel like mom might be feeling like she needs to protect Melody from herself. And I feel like she took her somewhere, or she placed her somewhere for her own good. It's like that last glimmer of light inside of her that's able to recognize that, yeah, my child needs somebody else, needs something else, something better. Because, even her mom, I think her mom's name is Ashley. Ashley Buzzard, yeah, I think. Even Ashley's mother said that, Ashley had been suffering for years. The house was a train wreck. The house was always dirty. And there was a struggle there. And a lot of times, when there are struggles, mental health struggles, like people will pull back. So, people hadn't seen her in a while. People hadn't seen the baby in a while. And so it's definitely there that there's some mental illness. But I think that I feel like Ashley loves her, but feels like a great need to protect her even against herself or from herself. Okay. So bottom line is I don't feel that she's deceased. I don't think she's been trafficked. I think she's with a cult. Just like some sort of like organized group, and I think again she did it for her protection. So the other thing is, I was not aware that there were a string of suicides and deaths connected to Disney. So I just looked it up. But I'm aware of, not a fan or not fair. I'm aware of back in the teens, like the 2015, 2017, there were a string of Disneyland out in California suicides from their parking garage out there. 3 different deaths from the parking garage out there. And I only learned that when I was doing a reading for somebody, and I was trying to remember who the reading was for, but I stumbled onto, I think his name is Christopher Christensen, who was a school principal who killed himself because he was falsely accused by his wife of abusing or like child endangerment. And which was really sad, because he said, the reasons he was killing himself is because it basically ruined his life. Anytime you're tagged with like child abuse, child endangerment, and this is a man who is a service provider for children, running a school district, or not running it, but he's a principal. So those things matter. And so when you're falsely accused because of a night of anger, and then the wife recanted it, but it still didn't matter. It was a done deal. So even if somebody recants it, because they don't know if it was recanted under duress, right? So once that's out there, that's out there. So he went to the Disneyland parking garage, and I think it was the 7th floor, and there were 2 other suicides that also threw themselves off of that parking garage from like the 7th floor. And then remember the girl that came from Hawaii that ended up in Mexico, didn't her no, I know they said he killed himself. I don't think he killed himself. I think there's more to that story. But he ended up dying, um, they said at a parking garage. Like he threw himself off, and it wasn't even that clear. Like did he overdose, or did he throw himself off of that parking garage? But yeah, so I just looked up what was going on. So two of them looked like, well, one was a medical emergency, another person was found unresponsive, and there were like three other suicides at Disney World, which is in Florida. So Disney World's in Florida, and then Disneyland is in California, right? So those suicides I was talking about in the previous years took place in Disneyland in California. Okay, again, people throwing themselves off of. Now, there's definitely something up with that. Because why the parking garage? Like, what is leading them? What is pulling them to that parking garage at Disneyland? And this was over the span, like, there was a death, there was a suicide every 2 years. And this guy, I believe he died in the principal, Christopher Christensen. I believe he died in 2022. But it was like every 2 years, there was a suicide there with that parking garage. So, yeah, there's definitely something up with that San Diego. And that's the one where they were saying that there was a couple of reports of like children going missing in the bathroom. There's tunnels underneath where they're pulling children down that go into the bathroom by themselves, and they're being trafficked and sold and sacrificed, and all kinds of dark shit is happening at that one in California, Disneyland. So yeah, there's definitely something up with that. But when I found that, I was surprised that nobody else was talking about these three suicides from the parking garage in the 20 teens, 2 years apart for each one. And I believe it from the same level, the seventh floor or the seventh level of the parking garage, and nobody was really talking about it. I found out about it by accident, and I was like, wow, like this is a thing. This is definitely a thing. So, but the recent ones, I think that has a lot to do with these social pressures. People from all walks of life would rather leave this world than to continue struggling, and people are coming from different backgrounds. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's situation is not the same. You got federal workers that lived good lives for most of their lives and they're being screwed. You got people that are working that aren't getting paid. You get people who have historically struggled throughout their life and that are just tired. They're so tired. You know what I mean? So people are feeling like, I need to be in control of this. What do I have to prove to force myself to go through this experience? And then at the end, what am I going to do? Right away in a death camp, also known as a nursing home, which is where I used to work, and I'll never go back. Um, and I could tell you guys some stories about these nursing homes. But people are just at the point where a lot of people just feel like the tide is turning and things are shifting and they want to be in control. And who am I to say that, they're wrong? If it's a mental health thing, like if you're suffering from mental health and you're being told to harm yourself by voices and things like that, I think that's one thing, but I think people deserve the dignity. If you can choose to go to war and die in war, you've made the choice. When you sign up for the military, you give the rights to your life to the military. They have the right to your life, and you're expendable. So if you can commit suicide that way, which is essentially, I mean, you'll fight in the process, but there's a high probability that you're going to die. You've made the choice. You've made that choice, right? So you have a choice in the matter. And why should you not have a choice? Because we feel bad about it? It's not up to us. And, everybody has their path. And not everybody's life is easy, you know? And and the way that these health systems are failing people, the way that the funding is being cut, I don't feel that I think that you need to repivot. I don't think everything needs to be a Debbie Downer, gloomer. I think it's a perfect opportunity to reinvent how you see life and how you move in it. It's a perfect opportunity to repivot. It doesn't have to be the end of the world because you lost your job. It doesn't have to be the end of the world because you're homeless. A lot of people are going homeless and they see the writing on the wall and they don't want to do anything about it. They see where this is going. You know that your rent is being increased. You know you can't afford it. Look at all the people that have been on YouTube living in their vehicles or living alternatively for years. I've been following Bob Wells, which his channel is the channel that I plugged in, one of his channels. I've been following him since 2014. 2014. I watch homeless videos. I watch, because I'm preparing myself for a possible situation. I'd rather prepare. If I see it coming, I'm not going to wait until it happens and then crash out. I want to prepare because this is happening to a lot of people, and it doesn't matter how much money you make. It is absolutely ridiculous to spend $1,000 on a one-bedroom apartment with nothing included. Oh, okay, you're going to include garbage and water. Thanks, right? So it's absurd. A lot of these things are absurd. So I feel like we have to start writing our own terms in life. We don't have to go by these human constructs, these human systems that have historically eaten us alive, made us sick. How many people die 2 or 3 years after they retire? They spent their whole life working and then they retire and then they're dead within 2 to 3 years because that's not natural. That's not natural. And people are waking up. People are choosing to go their own way and to define life in a way that makes sense. So what I'm saying is that if you feel like you have to exit the world, you're done with this, and you have a good idea and an understanding of how that works according to you and your spirituality, if that's where you need to be, and if that's what you need to do, then do what you do. But for those that are in conflict and that are fighters and that want to make it, have the courage to follow your own lead. Surviving and living alternatively is your prerogative, and it doesn't have to look like what everybody else is doing. It is okay to follow your own lead. You've got people out there living in tents, people that are living on, off of their bikes. They travel on their bikes. You got people that travel by foot. There's a guy that travels with his goats, and he's been out there for years. And what's he do? I think he sells goat milk, and he lives on the side of the road with his goats. And he's got a very successful YouTube channel. You got people in England living in tents outside of London, on outskirts, and they go to work. People are doing whatever they got to do, and they're making their own rules. So don't think that, you have to kill yourself because shit has completely changed in a way that it just seems like there's no way. No, there's a way. You have to give yourself permission to be okay, to think for yourself and think outside of the system. The system tells us how to think. And we've been so conditioned to believe it. But no, freedom is there. You have to pivot. If you want to stay and there's things that you still want to do, you have to pivot. And there's clearly other people that are doing it, so it can be done. You just have to know that it's okay to believe in yourself and trust yourself. I mean, I've read for people that have self-termed, and I say self-termed because you terminate willfully, you terminate your session here. I call it a session or a sequence. You terminate and it's by will, and you're completely conscious of it, and you understand it, and there's no consequence. The only consequence that I found when doing readings with people is the guilt of not being in line with their oneness, of being led down paths that don't make sense, of being led down paths that served corporations and belief systems that were meant to suppress and enslave people. That's when you really find people that struggle with the transition because their concept of reality is so warped that they go from a lifetime of being conditioned with, especially Abrahamic religions, of being conditioned to believe certain things. Oh, you're going to be punished for this, you're going to be punished for that. And the truth is we've been here many times before. How many of you out there remember your past lives or have some kind of semblance of like, what do they call it? Deja vu. You know, there's nothing new under the sun. This planet has been recycled. Like this planet has been used and recycled, and there have been advanced civilizations many times over that have been destroyed, and then we're in another one. There's nothing new under the sun. We've been here before. We've been in other experimental planes of existence. So the other part of it too is we can't take this shit so seriously to where we eat ourselves alive. Because when we transition in the state that we're in. We become aware of a beautiful other reality in a state of existence, but we carry the baggage. So we've got to heal ourselves before we go. And that's where a lot of people don't understand, because we're not really taught that. We don't really understand it in terms that are palatable. So if you transition and you're not in a good place, you're a person that doesn't take accountability, you're a person that has a lot of skeletons, you're a person that hasn't been remorseful or hasn't expressed it, hasn't validated a person that they may have harmed or abused, and you haven't gone through the process of contrition with people that you victimized, you're going to carry that with you and you're going to suffer from it. Because believe me, the love that you withhold is the pain that you will carry. If you've hurt somebody, you got to make it right. And that includes if you killed somebody. Guys, listen, there was this guy. It was just on Dateline or 48 Hours. There was a guy in my city that they just showcased, I think last week. In the city I live in right now, they busted him in 2023 for murdering a woman down in Virginia with her baby, when her baby was in the house. They busted him. And I had no idea until I saw it on 48 Hours, and then it was on the local news. So even if you've harmed somebody, you have got to make it right. I've seen people people that have children around them, and the children are on the other side, but the children are attached to them because of what they did to the child. And I know what happened. I can see that the child is not their child. The child is not like biologically connected to them. And because of the colors that are around the child, I can tell that this person harmed the child. That child is attached because there is a debt that's owed. So if you've hurt somebody, you have got to make it right. You've got to bare your soul. You've got to make it right. So when you transition and you carry baggage with you, that's what you're going to have to deal with. It's going to come with you. But if you're somebody that's clear and you know what you're doing, and you're in touch with the fact that you've had many lives here and you understand what this is, and you're like, okay, well, I'm done here. You know, I don't really feel like there's anything else for me. I've done a lot of good things here, and I feel like it's time for me to transition on to the next dimension, or I want to go back into the ethers or whatever. I want to go back into an omnipresent state because I feel like I'm ready for that. Like, I feel like that's the natural progression at this time. I'm ready to go. There are people who are like that are okay with it, and because they understand. And then so they opt to term out. So this thing with demonizing, quote unquote, the Suic side, people that demonize it, really just aren't understanding that this isn't always an attack on self, and it's not always involving like some sort of mental illness. So when we get back to like, why are people doing this to themselves, or why is this happening? There's a lot of factors. You know, people are just crushed because they've been in the system and they've been trained and they've been programmed, you know, And then when it crashes, there's no real support systems in place because by this time, everything is crashing. I mean, even going to the doctors for me, the quality of care has gone to hell over the last like 8 years. I've gone to doctor's appointments where the doctors were stinking, like literally had odors, and I had to call them out for like not washing their hands, you know, coming right into the room and putting their hand, trying to put their hands on me without sanitizing or nothing. And this was during COVID. So, I mean, so things are changing in all areas, and it's just getting more and more depraved. So, my advice to people who are struggling is to maintain your civility, maintain your humanity. There's no reason to change or devolve because everything around us is changing and devolving. Everything that's happening is supposed to be happening. Everything that's happening is supposed to be happening. It hurts and it doesn't make sense when you're in it, but when you step out and you see this, you see what's happening, it'll make sense to those who've seen this coming. I saw this coming when I was a teenager, which is why I opted to never have children, because I knew that this would not be a world where I would want anybody coming through me to be here. I wouldn't want them to inherit what's coming. There's going to be a lot of changes, a lot of upheaval, but you got to hold the line. Stay grounded. Stay grounded. Stay solid, because it's temporary. All these changes are temporary. They're just not pretty changes, or they change, or it just fluctuates. You know what I mean? But start believing in yourself. It's okay to step off this rat wheel of conditioning and programming that we've all been on. All of us. They told us to drink milk when we was coming up. And milk really makes you sick. Most people are lactose intolerant. So that was a lie. That was just so the dairy industry could make money. When you start peeling back the lies, the deception, it's like, wow, I should have just listened to myself. There were times when my intuition was telling me shit, and I should have just listened. Well, now you know that you can, and now it's clear. So own your autonomy. Own it. Take ownership back of yourself, your sensory, and the things that you are feeling, and allow yourself to feel it. You don't need a cosigner. You don't need anybody validating. You are your own agency. And just know, like I said, there are people out there that are doing their own thing, that are reinventing what life should be. Those are I call them the stunner gunners. Those are the ones that, they're running with they got the torch because they're leading the charge. And individualism and creativity. You see their videos on YouTube. Get into it. Get into all these alternative videos. It is freeing to see people that have stepped off the rat wheel and they're defining their own lives. You got people living on boats in harbors. You got people, there's all kinds. There's a guy that lives in an airplane, a broken down airplane in the middle of the woods. I was just coming from the store buying food, and there's a woman that was walking to her tent. I was coming from Walmart. Like, I'm inspired and I'm proud of these people that have the balls, the tenacity. Pardon the French, guys. I do have a dirty mouth, contrary to but I'm so inspired and proud of these folks, of their strength, of their courage to be who they are and do what they do to make it. And I applaud them, So, yeah, so that's the thing with the suicides. There was a couple of recommendations. I'm going to get into them and draw some cards and see what I can see. But I just wanted to step on and talk about the suicides. Thanks for listening to my rants and my philosophical viewpoints. But I want you guys to believe in yourself, because it's okay to, and we should have always been, and not letting a system of religion or a system of government control what we think or feel about our lives and our path. Our path is an individual one. We're all different and unique for a reason. We can't really only we know how to feel about whatever and do what we need to do about whatever, in life. It's our choice, it's our decision, it's our experience. So, yeah, and again, the thing about Melodee, I don't feel like she's deceased at all. I think she's being hidden, and I think that there's something in mom that says, that said to her, I needed to protect her, even if it's from myself. So, thanks for joining the live. Thanks for watching it, and I'm gonna see what I can see with these other folks that were suggested. Thanks again, Libra, and we will see you in the next video. Take care, guys.